What's up, everybody? Welcome back to... Alright, so in this video I want to cover chapters 8 through 11. And one thing I'm already noticing is that the pace and the story is already quickening. And that's a good thing because I want to keep reading. And I'm reading a lot faster. Anyway, at the beginning of chapter 8, we have this procession that is headed by Verity on their way to Lord Kelvar. They suspect Lord Kelvar possibly of treachery and negligence to the kingdom because they think, or they know rather, that red ships are passing through his territory and raiding, and they want to make sure that he's properly staffing these towers. So there's kind of a lot going on here. There's a lot of subtle politics and disagreements about it, but Fitz is in this procession on their way to Lord Kelvar, and his duty at the time is to attend to Lady Time. This character is wild, kind of disgusting, and stubborn and rude, and he has to attend to this person's every need. And I want to be clear here. I suspected something was up with this character right away. There were too many words talking about concealment and being veiled and hiding away out of sight. The character itself seemed almost over the top. And I don't know if I actually suspected, just definitively that this was Chade, but I know I entertained the possibility that this was Chade at some point. There were just too many hints dropped that there was something wrong or up with this character. So I got that one right. Sort of. So most of chapter 8 is composed of the procession moving on its way to Neat Bay. And there are also a lot of details at the end of this chapter where Fitz is trying to ascertain what's going on. Like, what is the problem with this lord? Why is he being negligent or at the same time he's looking for possible treachery? And, he picks up on a lot of things, which I don't know, to me seem like a bit above his ability at his age, but he's also been trained in this. And he basically comes to all the right conclusions. So then Fitz wakes up at midnight, because he's hungry, because he doesn't like the highfalutin, pretentious food of these lords. And so he goes looking around the kitchen for food. And right away, we kind of sense that here we have the fool's prophecy coming true. And although I could believe that this lecherous old dandy, Lord Kelvar, could become obsessed with this new girl to the point of negligence to his kingdom. And although I did like this scene, but it almost felt like too easy. Granted, I am critiquing it before I've seen any of the consequences and what unfolds. So we'll see what happens and if it was actually just too easy. But either way, it was a really good scene. And then what followed this scene was actually incredibly entertaining. Because while I was focused on picking out bits of the prophecy, like, oh, there's a feist. Oh, what is this? How's this going to happen? How's this going to unfold? Then when Fitz is done with this scene and he's headed back, then he gets called to Lady Time. And we learn pretty quickly that when he gets down there that, Lady Time is just a ruse and it's actually Chade that's been putting on this performance. And we learn quickly that something is wrong in the kingdom, right? The Red Raiders are involved and they've raided this town of Forge, and Chade and Fitz are having to go to investigate what the hell's going on here. But it just felt like we became swept up in much bigger events, and it really started pushing the pace and moving the plot forward. And it was just done so deftly to kind of capture the reader's interest and have them focus on this one aspect of the prophecy, and then just as you're coming out of that, just to sweep you into these big events. And the pace of it all felt really good. It was really entertaining. But yeah, it just feels like the world now is really coming together. And so we have Chade and Fitz, and they're now racing to Forge because they want to investigate what's going on there. What's going on there is wild. And my first thought was that some kind of skill must be involved. These people that they had captured and then returned have been stripped of all humanity. They're forlorn, they're bestial. And there was also this interesting part where Fitz becomes aware of this ability, and it becomes more clear to him when he sees certain strands connected to people and they're gone. And once he sees the absence of these strands, he kind of realizes, oh wait, I've relied on this. Like these strands represent, living beings, and here and these people at Forge, they're gone. So they're just basically somewhat inanimate objects in a way. And the connections in the strands and the magical nature of it really reminded me, if you've read this series, like the Five Gods series. And so we clearly have and understand that the Red Raiders are very evil. They will either kill people they capture or strip them of their humanity, which seemed to me like they were doing this with some kind of skill. I don't know. I'm not even sure what their motivations are exactly. They just are raiding the coastlines, and it definitely seems like war is imminent. Also, we get some really cool lore about the Pocked Man. Fitz thinks that it's Chade because he kind of resembles the description. Chade says it's not him. I don't know. But just, I really love bits of world building like this. And then at the beginning of chapter 11, there's this description of this myth of like El and Edda. Right, so you have this very strong versus weak mentality, and if you are stronger, well, you should take advantage of that. One other thing that happens in chapter 11 is that we learn, I did, definitively that the queen is dead. It's said twice. I'm pretty sure that's right. I don't know how I missed that the first time. I was just super confused by it because there was no ceremonial mourning or anything like that. It was just kind of, they just dropped it on us. And I thought, oh, surely she's still alive. But apparently she's dead. I think. Raids just keep happening and they're unable to figure out how they're crossing their boundaries, how they're slipping past, almost invisibly past their watches. A few more towns have this process where they get forged. It's starting to set in this fear and apprehension, and this entire world is kind of starting to set in. And, just from what we know earlier, there was already some unrest going on in some of these territories. One group felt like they were being taxed too much, really being primed for war and discontent with the current, rulers here. And I'm really liking the fantastical element of how they're slipping by the watches, just like almost like they're invisible. And Shrew doesn't really seem to be trying to mollify and ease this anxiety and apprehension of his subjects. He's not like taking initiative and showing them that he's doing something. He's not really releasing any edicts. And right, a lot of the people think that he's just not doing anything, and that makes a lot of sense, and I understand it because right, like Lord Kelvar wasn't doing anything, and they almost killed this fool. And then there's another scene where near the end of chapter 11 where Fitz goes down and meets again with Molly. Every time they meet, it's just, there's a lot of good character development. And they have this disagreement on politics. And I thought that was really cool because just the idea that you could create a world with so much realized politics and political strife that two characters could sort of have disagreements on it. And it feels like it showcases their characters, but also makes sense within the world that's being created. It was really good. I really liked that. And then Fitz has this moment right at the end where he almost reveals to Molly that he has skill, and then reneges on that impulse and resists it. And he's worried because he thinks, well, what if she thinks it's disgusting or it's some kind of perversion, just like Burek does. So there's this constant ongoing theme that this power that Fitz has is perverted and nasty. But yeah, the story is really starting to pick up. It was built up really well. I'm still really enjoying it, especially as this plot's picking up. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one. Peace.